Hello, I'm Viviana, and it is my honor to introduce you to Vita Sapien, an organization that seeks to bring about a global transformation. At Vita Sapien, we forge groundbreaking innovations, where eco-science meets eco-spirituality, all guided by a sustainable life philosophy. This philosophy is more than an idea. It's a growing movement to connect people through the mind and the heart to our living planet. Our research suggests that around 53 million people in the Western world alone share characteristics that we refer to as Vitan. Vita is Latin for life, so these are the life people. Specifically, life people love nature, trust science, and take action to make things better. Does this sound like you? What is missing, we believe, is a unifying philosophy that can help amplify the impact of life people in fostering a civilization that thrives with nature deep into the future. This sustainable life philosophy is called Vita Worldview, and it contains unique concepts that will help us weather this new age of global crisis and prevail beyond. Together, we can cultivate the blossoming of a remarkable era, the Verdant Age. The Verdant Age is not a dream. It is a potential reality. It is a future where humanity and the living planet thrive together in harmony, stretching deep into the long future. This is not just survival. It is flourishing for millions of species, for billions of people, for millions of years. At Vita Sapien, we believe that our birthright as humans is to thrive on Earth, and that the climate and ecological crises of today are not the end. They are merely challenges, stepping stones to something far greater. For nature lovers who respect science and take action, this is your time to shine. And Vita Worldview is a guiding light toward the main prize, the longevity and health of people and our beautiful living planet. Please take some time to familiarize yourself with Vita Sapien Organization and Vita Worldview. Thank you.
In the ocean deep and wide they glide. Whales are nature's gentle guide. With every dive and breach so grand, they carry carbon from the land.
Their mighty forms through currents weave a hidden role you won't believe. By stirring blooms in waters clear, they draw down carbon year by year.
Breathe in the ocean's gentle breeze. Feel the peace among the seas. Whales are whispers of the blue, nature's hope in view.
From the depths with power and grace, they lift nutrients to Earth's embrace. Phytoplankton rise, the bloom expands, sustaining life in ocean sands.
Through their feeding, life takes hold. Their ecosystem's tale is told. In their wake, the oceans thrive. Whales keep the carbon flow alive. Breathe in the ocean's gentle breeze. Feel the peace among the seas. Whales are whispers of the blue, nature's hope in view.
Their bodies vast, their spirits free, sink to depths, a legacy. Carbon stored for ages long, a cycle sealed in silent song.
Silent stewards, guardians wise, in their presence hope will rise. With every breath they play their part, connecting sea to nature's heart. Breathe in the ocean's gentle breeze. Feel the peace among the seas. oceans sing, echoes of their journey ring, a harmony of air and tide. Whales keep balance far and wide.
From ocean depths to surface bright, they move with strength, a guiding light, a living bridge of earth and sea, reminding us of unity.
Breathe in the ocean's gentle breeze, feel the peace among the seas. Whales are whispers of the blue, nature's hope in view. To the whales a pledge we make, for the future steps we take. Guardians of the ocean's lore, their song will echo evermore.
A Florida teen has made an exciting discovery that has marine science experts scratching their heads. Lauren Arrington spotted a lionfish in the Loxahatchee River, somewhere they are not supposed to be. A marine species that has invaded Florida coastlines, lionfish are wreaking havoc on marine life by eating everything in their path. Lionfish are highly prized for home aquariums, and many are deliberately released into the sea where they have become a dominant species at the expense of the native fish. Lionfish had not been observed in fresh water before, so Lauren decided to do some science to confirm her discovery. As part of a school science fair, the sixth grader set up multiple tanks containing lionfish. Starting with sea water, she progressively decreased the salinity until the water was fresh. All the while, she monitored the fish, taking meticulous notes. The experiment confirmed her theory that lionfish could survive comfortably in freshwater. Subsequent experiments by professional marine scientists reaffirmed the results. This discovery is important for environmental managers who know that the range of this destructive animal is much greater than first thought. Vita Sapien believes that this is an excellent news story that demonstrates a Vitan in action. In Vita speak, a Vitan is someone who loves nature, trusts science and is in action to make things better. The story highlights the important role that the scientific method plays in helping us to understand the world around us. By making the commitment to a thorough science experiment, Lauren helped draw attention to the dangers of invasive species. And finally, the success of the experiment and the subsequent media attention has likely helped to cement marine science as a part of Lauren's spiritual core, something that gives her meaning and inner peace. For Vita Sapien, science and spirituality sit comfortably together as they help us understand the world around and within us.
Vita Sapien organization helps people understand the changes taking place in the world and how we can care for nature and our future. We have been working towards creating Vita Sapien TV, a live stream channel that will share Vita's unique content around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Vita Sapien TV content will include new and existing Vita interviews with sustainability experts, commentary on extreme weather events, Vita Sapien music, tips about how to live earth-friendly lives, plus other information relevant to Vita's core themes. We have secured access to specialist software, but need resources for a dedicated computer, broadband Wi-Fi, and other costs associated with video production, graphic design, producing content, and reaching out to viewers. The resources will enable us to set up the Vita TV channel, develop a program schedule, access and create the content, and start running Vita TV. This will be an epic learning exercise and help us to reach out to the 53 million people who can help humanity and the biosphere survive the 21st century and thrive beyond. Please help if you can. Thank you.
We're joined now by Peter Kalmus, climate activist, climate scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. He's speaking on his own behalf, not on behalf of NASA. He's just written an opinion essay for the New York Times headlined, "I'm a Climate Scientist. I fled Los Angeles 2 years ago." He joins us now from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Peter, thanks so much for joining us today. Explain why you fled Los Angeles 2 years ago.
Oh, Amy, I just have to take a moment to, I don't know what to say anymore. I'll get to that in a second, but I just want to make sure the reason I wrote the piece was because we have to acknowledge that this is caused by the fossil fuel industry, which has been lying for almost half a century, blocking action. They're on the record saying that they will continue to spread disinformation and continue to attempt to block action. They've known the whole time that the planet would get hotter like this and that impacts like this fire would happen. And then a point I really wanted to make in the piece, which they wouldn't let me make, is that this is still just the beginning. It's going to get way worse than this. 2 years ago, 2020, when that Bobcat fire happened, the whole time I was living in Altadena, it was getting hotter and more fiery and drier and smokier. And it just didn't feel like I could stay there. Like I could, so, when you have a trend line, things getting worse every year, right? Like, where's the point where it breaks? Like you keep going and keep pushing the system, getting hotter and hotter, getting drier and drier, right? Like emitting more and more carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels. Eventually things break. I didn't expect my neighborhood to burn this soon.
Explain what's happened, Peter, in Altadena, in the town that you left. It's
complete devastation. I mean, your audience probably has seen some of the images. The neighborhood I lived it's gone. I would say the majority of my friends have lost their homes there. Every now and then there's a home that's still standing amidst the ashes and the devastation. I don't even know what kind of rebuilding after this is going to look like and feel like. I don't know how this is going to affect the housing market, the insurance industry going forward. It's the thing, again, I think everyone needs to understand, and I wish the New York Times would have let me make this point, that this is going to get worse. I can see that today just as clearly as I could see how hotter and drier and more fiery Los Angeles was getting. I mean, I think in the future, if we don't change course very quickly, and maybe it's even too late to avoid some of these much more catastrophic impacts. But I'm fully expecting heat waves to start appearing where 100,000 people die, and then maybe 1 million people die, and then maybe more after that as things get hotter and hotter, because there's no upper limit, right? Like, we keep burning these fossil fuels. Fossil fuel industry keeps lying. The planet just keeps getting hotter. These impacts just keep getting worse. It's not a new normal. A lot of climate messaging centers around this idea that it's a new normal. It's a staircase to a hotter, more hellish Earth. And a lot of climate impact predictions have erred on the side of least drama. It's hard for even scientists to wrap our heads around how everything is changing right now on planet Earth. No matter where you look, the indicators, when spring comes, how hot the winter is, habitats that are moving, ice that's melting. Everywhere you look in the Earth system, including, of course, ocean temperatures and land surface temperatures, you're just on this trend towards a hotter planet and all the impacts that are associated with it. And I don't know what it's going to take for us to stop all these stupid wars and come together and actually deal with the emergency that our planet is in the process of becoming less and less habitable, and everything that means. We humanity, we've got a real crisis here, and we're ignoring it.
Mycelium threads weaving Fungi whisper their stories to tell, threads of life, a vast unseen web. Through roots and earth, their signals are spread. They carry messages, secrets shared. From tree to tree, the forest prepared. A network deep, a mind profound. The silent pulse of the underground. Mycelium threads weaving below, connecting the roots where the forests grow. Fungi of wisdom, silent and sly. In your hidden work, the forest will thrive. Nourishing trees with the strength they need, breaking down leaves, planting life seed. Their alchemy turns death to rebirth, recycling the gifts of the living earth. Fungi bridge the gaps unseen, balancing life in shades of green. Without their work, the forest would fade, lost in a silence they could have stayed. Mycelium threads weaving below, connecting the roots where the forests grow. Fungi of wisdom, silent and sly. In your hidden work, the forest will thrive. Through the fungi, the trees can speak, a language ancient, subtle, unique. Warnings of drought, a pest on the breeze, all carried on threads beneath the trees. The mushrooms rise, their fruit on display, a fleeting sign of their hidden ballet. They are the architects, the quiet guides, the lifeblood of forests where balance abides. Mycelium threads weaving below, connecting the roots where the forests grow. Fungi of wisdom, silent and sly. In your hidden work, the forest will thrive. So let us honor the fungal embrace, the network of life that holds this place. For in their toil, the forests endure, a harmony vast, ancient and pure. From the smallest sprout to the tallest pine.
Okay, I
So,
got it.
Peter, you have a plan to end the climate crisis by 2050. Do you want to illuminate that a little bit, please?
Yeah. So the big news today, the last couple of days, has been was it 40 degrees in London?
Yeah.
And now the flip side is also yesterday here in the U.S. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm said we need carbon dioxide removal to restore our climate.
Right.
Which is the first time any U.S. official or any government official anywhere has talked about actually restoring the Earth's climate.
Okay.
And when I talk to people, I imagine it's true for you that people really do want to restore climate that humans have actually survived.
Mm-hmm.
And the UN, of course, is proposing a climate of 1.5 or 2 or 3 degrees, which is way beyond what humans have survived. And we might, but I'm sorry, it's just not what we want.
Yeah.
With all due respect to the United Nations, and the various agencies. And so, what we need to do is get 1 trillion tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere to get it back to what I call a safe harbor.
Can you say that? Did you say 2 trillion tons? Was that the number?
A trillion tons is what I say. In fact, it's sort of closer to 2 trillion,
Yeah.
but it gets a little iffy.
Yeah.
But we know a trillion.
Yeah. And also, as you draw down, you start to release carbon out of the ocean. Is that right?
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right. But we're talking in the ballpark of 1 trillion to 2 trillion tons of CO2 pulled harmlessly out of the environment out of the atmosphere to stabilize, to bring climate back to the safe zone of the Holocene epoch.
Yeah. So I use the term a safe harbor. And the idea is when a ship is in stormy seas, the captain will go to the nearest safe harbor. And some PhD mate is going to say, hey, I know this great place, this island, it's beautiful, there are palm trees. And the captain says, no, I'm going to the safe harbor, the place where I've been before. And I don't care how many PhDs you have, I'm going to where I've been before. And that's what we're doing with the climate, is that we've actually been, we know that the Holocene works. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, love it. Love that. It's just simple. And, you know, I've actually been doing these interviews over the last few days. I've talked to the polar researcher, Peter Wadhams, and, you know, seeing what's happening. Whatever it is that you're planning on doing, it needs to happen quickly. I think that's a really important point as well.
Yes.
The 2 trillion tons has to come out in the next, 28 years or something by 2050.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got
a few.
Go on.
A few details there is you only need to pull out 1 trillion by 2050 or by 2040 because the other trillion or half trillion will take 50 years to come out of the ocean.
I see. Okay. And there are still these processes that are drawing down into the soils, into the forests, if they're allowed to grow, right?
Probably, although I wouldn't want to bet our kids' lives on that.
Right. Okay. Okay. And so how is this, and this is all going to happen just by using the mechanisms of the global marketplace through investments and effectively a cost, not only cost effective, but a profitable process that's what you've got planned. Is that right?
Yeah, although saying using the marketplace leaves a misleading feeling because when you say that for the cognoscenti, sort of like you and me, we think of the carbon market.
Right, yes.
And the carbon market's not going to work. Why? Because right now, when a company buys a ton of carbon offsets in the carbon market, that they emit an extra ton, and then someone else promises to remove that ton. So there's no impact.
Yeah.
And so no matter how much you fund with carbon offsets, you're not reducing CO2.
Yeah.
Then when we finish the energy transition, there's no more money.
Yeah.
Because there's no more fossil fuel and no more offsets. And now you still have 1 trillion tons of CO2. Excess
in the atmosphere. Okay, so firstly, can I just say I really love that word cognoscenti. I want to use that myself. And secondly, when I said the marketplace, I guess what I meant was by going to the market and actually seeking investors that would put money into projects and that there'd be a financial return.
Yes, yeah.
Which is obviously how the world works, right? So trying to find billions and billions and millions of dollars for a project that's not going to give a financial return is a lot harder than finding money for an investment. Yeah.
Okay. I like to say it this way, that we got into this mess because in our market economy, companies said, listen, I hear you want to buy some energy to heat your house, to run your business. Here's some energy. Oh, by the way, it'll put CO2 in the air. And then you can, these same customers, we can say, listen, if you want to buy some limestone, well, you can buy some limestone. It'll take each cubic yard of concrete will take a ton of CO2 out of the air. Yeah. And the customer says, fine, works for me.
I don't care,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or buy the salmon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. That salmon was involved in taking 100 million tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere,
Yeah.
fine. But I want that. I love salmon. So
Right. And my plan was to spread a global spiritual movement that everybody started caring. And you're saying we don't really need that with your model.
that's true.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and be a part of it though, Guy,
Yeah.
is when you need to care, you don't, right? Because we're all kids at heart. We're all 2-year-olds. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you don't need to care, you can count on everybody caring.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Hey. Okay. So I've got a slide that I found on your slide deck that comes with your email. Can I just bring that up for a second because it outlines some of the methods that you're planning on using. So if I go to share screen and I go to here, can you see that?
Yes. Yes.
Can you just walk us through each of those pieces of pie?
Yeah. So the net zero by 2040 refers to accelerating the energy transition.
Yeah.
And that's 6% of the total amount of CO2 that we need to remove. And so the point there is that it's not a big deal. The energy transition. It's important for health reasons. It's important for environmental reasons. But as you can see, if we, for some bizarre reason, we fail to do it, it would not impact climate restoration significantly.
Because you're sucking such vast sums of CO2 out of the atmosphere, the 30 gigatons that the humans are putting up becomes immaterial.
That's right. It's material, but not a big deal. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And as when you read the book, if you've read the book, the second chapter is about the energy transition. Mm-hmm. And in a market economy that we have, the lower cost supplier tends to win. Now, in the case of energy, it takes 20 years to replace the capital equipment we use to do energy. And so it'll take 20 years to do that transition. Yeah. But wind and solar and batteries are so much cheaper. Yeah. Especially when you include the wars.
And like I've been surprised at how slow the transition has been in recognition of how inexpensive the renewables are. But that's because of this like overt political manipulation in the economy. Like we've had this Liberal government in Australia that's just done everything in its power to stop a natural transition. And so that seems to be kind of waning as the cost differences gets greater and greater.
Yes. Yeah. And they can only do so much. So coal is on its way out, and Australia is going to transition from coal. Mm-hmm. Right, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And yes, they'll be able to delay it for another 4 years. That if they accelerated it, but in the grand scheme of things, 4 or 5 years is not that big a deal.
Yeah. Okay. So methane oxidation.
Yeah, methane oxidation. That's interesting. Once I figured out the other three, the iron fertilization, the kelp and sargassum, and the limestone, I realized that we are on our way to getting CO2 down to the safe harbor. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and said, "Oh my God, the methane burst." When I first heard about that 8 years ago, I said, "That's terrible." And I looked around, and everyone said, "That's terrible. Let's forget it because we don't know what to do." Yeah. And that might happen in the next century. But then about 3 years ago, they discovered these big bucket-sized bubbles, methane bubbles coming out of the Arctic. And they realized that the methane burst was happening. Yeah. The temperatures in the water there are 10 degrees Celsius. So, just with the ocean that warm, you're going to get a burst. Hopefully it'll be a small burst, but hoping for our kids is unacceptable. Yeah. It turns out that the way nature deals with methane is it oxidizes it in the atmosphere. There are certain chemicals which act essentially as catalysts. It's not quite catalysts, but that's close enough for us. And and we can increase that oxidation rate. It looks like by a factor of 2 or 3 times, and it buys us one that it'll if the methane burst is bad, we can oxidize it before we lose more than 1 or 2 harvests, which then saves our civilization.
Yeah.
The second is also very cool, that if we double the oxidation rate, that cools the atmosphere back to what it was around 2000.
Right.
Which is phenomenal.
Yes, because around a third of the radiative forcing is coming from methane already.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And the cost of doing that looks like it'll be all of $1 billion a year total.
Okay, and how's that done? Is that by releasing something into the atmosphere, or?
Yeah, exactly. That it's iron chloride. I think one of my scientist friends says that he's patenting a better way of doing it, but he won't tell me until the patent is registered or something.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. The iron chloride is fine. It gets the chlorine atoms into the atmosphere. The sunlight activates it, and then chlorine, like chlorine bleach, will oxidize a methane molecule.
Okay. And the ocean iron fertilization is basically putting tiny trace amounts of iron across large sections of the ocean, which then fosters a rapid bloom of phytoplankton. Is that correct?
That's pretty correct. Large is a relative term. Specifically, it's about 1% of the ocean is required, and they do it in eddies so that it's contained. So rather than transforming the whole ocean, which is a nightmare, you're just transforming an eddy for 6 months, which is like, and that's what nature does.
Yeah.
But here's the cool thing: the amount of iron dust, so it's basically iron ore dust, just the same as similar to a volcano, is about 1/100 of a teaspoon per square meter. So imagine sweeping off your front porch. That's probably over a teaspoon. This is 100.
You could just get that up by sweeping up the railways in the Pilbara region in northwestern Australia.
that would be a disaster, disastrously too much.
Too much, yes. Okay. Do you know if Twiggy Forrest from the Minderoo Foundation is involved in this? Because he's the one of Australia's leading philanthropists, environmental philanthropists, and also involved in the iron ore industry.
I don't know. I haven't heard his name in this.
Yeah, Twiggy Andrew Forrest. The company's called Fortescue Metals, and his foundation is called Minderoo, and they put in the order of 300 million Australian into mainly environmental projects, which is quite extraordinary for philanthropy. Philanthropy is not so well established in Australia as in the United States.
Yeah. So that's 300 million Australian, which is that 150?
200 or so. Yeah, about 200 American.
200. Okay.
And it's Minderoo Foundation, Twiggy Forrest, and Fortescue Metals he's also leading a big movement to, he and another Australian businessman philanthropist are putting together this program to build this massive solar farm in northwestern Australia to send electricity on an undersea cable to Singapore.
To Singapore. I love that one.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's an interesting connection there.
Yeah. Are you connected with him at all?
Not yet. We've been sort of meaning to put some material together to go to him to help find some support for Vita, but we haven't actually got that far yet.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wait until you connect us, just because, given that you're both Australian, that counts.
Yep. Okay, that's good. Kelp and sargassum, and again, I understand this is ocean-based, where you're basically growing out vast amounts of macroalgae, which have got a huge capacity to suck CO2 out of the ocean, therefore the atmosphere.
Yes. So that's our plan A is ocean fertilization, because that's what nature uses to produce ice ages. So it's been tested 10 times. If you look at the Keeling curve after the Mount Pinatubo volcano in 1991, you can see the curve goes up, flattens for a year and a half, and then goes back up again. And that flattening is about 4 parts per million is almost certainly due to the iron from the volcanic dust.
Yeah, right. Okay.
The point is that's why it's plan A.
Yeah.
Kelp and sargassum is our plan C. It's the same idea. Your photosynthesis in the ocean, and the biocarbon sinks to the middle or the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot more expensive, and so because you need structures and activity.
Yeah.
But it's good to have a plan C. The synthetic limestone is plan B. And that's what nature does over 100 million years to sequester 99% of the carbon on our planet under the ocean, formed from the skeletons and shells of animals and plants.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's fantastic. And so, how can you tell me how these are progressing in terms of? Is there like publicly listed company that's doing an investment round, or how is this operationalizing?
Things are beginning to pick up. The synthetic limestone is way ahead. They raised around of about 100 million last year, US. Yeah. And because they produce limestone, here's some of their limestone.
Okay. Yep.
And and it's for sale. The San Francisco airport has bought most of their production for the next year or two, and they have got a whole lot of other projects. And they're building new plants in several places in the world right now. And
this is predominantly for like road base, is that correct?
For roads and buildings. So the San Francisco airport used it in one of their temporary terminals. So they didn't want to do it for a permanent terminal, but they had a temporary addition. They said, good, we can certify this for the next 3 or 4 years. They tore it down and were completely delighted.
Yeah, wow. Okay, well,
which is not surprising because it's pure. Whereas when you get limestone from the ground, it's sort of dirty.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain amount of uncertainty about what you're going to get.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's good stuff. And how is this? So tell me about the foundation, the Climate Restoration Foundation. Is that the charity through which these activities have been promoted?
The Foundation for Climate Restoration. There's an Australian group called the Climate Restoration Foundation.
Okay.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
And so ours is called F4CR, the Foundation for Climate Restoration.
Okay, yeah.
And they're focusing on the sort of the advocacy. So they've put together school curricula to teach students about climate restoration, and especially to have the young people expect that we're going to restore the climate. Sort of like, when I was a youth, we expected that we would stop the Vietnam War, and eventually we did. But that expectation makes all the difference. And knowing how to do it helps too. So they're doing that. They're working with governments around the world to promote the limestone, and they're beginning to, just in the last few months, promote the iron fertilization. Okay. Because the iron fertilization becomes the plankton it grows is food for fish. And so it restores fisheries, which is a big deal.
And it would also assist to assisting in, and by pulling this carbon out of the atmosphere, it's helping to ameliorate ocean acidification as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And
the other thing it does is the phytoplankton produce this compound, this protein called DMS, which it becomes a seed for clouds.
Yes, so you cloud brightening.
What they discovered, they'd seen this in the earlier tests, but they really saw it in 2012 in the Gulf of Alaska test, which was the first one that was at a real operational scale. Is they could barely get measurements from the satellites of how much phytoplankton was growing because it was always cloudy.
And of course, that's increasing albedo, which is increasing the reflectivity of sunlight, which cools the ocean, which goes to help.
Right.
Oh, that's great stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
And
to some degree, it'll cool the Great Barrier Reef.
yeah, well, sooner rather than later there.
Yes. Yeah.
So how far are you advanced in actually deploying large scale into ocean eddies with ocean fertilization?
Well, the group doing that's called OPR World, Ocean Pasture Restoration, because that's what they do. When the ocean goes from blue to green, and they tell me it smells like a new mown pasture. That there's so much growing there.
Yeah.
So they named the company OPR World, and they've got 5 to 10 sites, they tell me, that are getting ready to go. They're keeping it on the quiet because there was a lot of bad press 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't see any signs of bad press right now, but yeah, we adults get scared, and so that's why I'm not releasing any data about it. But a year from now, we should see several tests, especially in places where they need the fish.
Yeah, sure. And what you're describing with open ocean and the eddies, which are these self-contained bodies of water, that, if there is anything goes wrong, it's constrained, and it's probably a long way from anything. So yeah, I love it. Yeah. Oh, this is very buoyant news, particularly after my conversation yesterday with Peter Wadhams talking about the methane burst we talked about, and all of the stuff that's going on in the Arctic, which is such a dynamic player in the global climate. But here we have human ingenuity and the pressures of the marketplace working in our advantage for the first time.
Yeah, and I've been doing testing on the methane oxidation, the iron chloride. And so I actually, I was out of my office for a few months during renovations here, and did some tests and got reliable measurements of methane oxidation using UV lights to simulate sunlight and the iron chloride. Wow. So we're looking for funding still, but it looks very promising. Wow. The funding in the short term will come from carbon offsets. But as we were saying earlier, the carbon offsets are a temporary solution. But we expect that the reinsurance companies will put money in, and also family offices, because the insurance losses have gone from 40 billion a year to 80 billion in the last 20 years. And so it looks like we can restore the cooling back to 20 years ago. We could probably save them $40 billion a year by cooling the planet down. And for they're investing $1 billion a year in the iron chloride, I think will be an easy sell. Wow.
Another good reason to talk to our friends in Northwestern Australia on more iron.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, the amount is pathetic. So it's 100 million tons. Yeah. No, it's 1 million tons a year is what we expect. There'll probably be a third or a tenth of that, but we want to estimate on the high side. And then on the iron fertilization, oh my God, I haven't done that calculation in a long time, but it's also way less than 1 million tons a year.
Yeah. Okay. The famous quote I remember was, "Give me a super tanker full of iron, and I'll give you an ice age."
That's right. Actually, it was give me a half a tanker of iron, and I'll give you the next ice age. I love that. It. It's so smart to use vivid images.
Yeah. Okay, that's great, Peter. It's been really great chatting with you. I'm going to wind this up now, but with a view that we could come and have another chat a little bit further down, and I'll do some research into these things and come up with some sort of targeted questions.
Yeah, and I've got some new slides. I'll send you the new slides.
Okay, great, fantastic, and it's great to talk to you at last.
It is. Yeah. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the work that you do. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much. Okay. And I'll talk soon.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Guy. Have a
Bye.
good afternoon. Okay, bye.
In the web of wires and the hum of machines, we're part of a system unseen but it gleams. Execute optimal foraging strategies to acquire financial surplus with ease. For ease. We chase the surplus, we chase the thrill. Comfort and fun bend to our will. Spend the financial surplus on fleeting delight as the earth spins faster, day turns to night. Turn billions of liters of oil into micrograms of dopamine. A dance of desire in the superorganism stream. Through growth and decay we march in unison to survive the simplification yet to come. We build and consume on a finite plane, ignoring the losses, forgetting the pain. A system so vast it blinds our eyes, while the biosphere falters and balance dies. Each move we make feeds the machine, a cycle of hunger, relentless, unseen. The surplus grows, but the cost is steep. A reckoning brews in the shadows we keep. Turn billions of liters of oil into micrograms of dopamine. A dance of desire in the superorganism stream. Through growth and decay we march in unison to survive the simplification yet to come. Beware the superorganism, its endless sprawl. The great simplification will come to call. Put your efforts to bend, not break, for the future of life is ours to make. Turn billions of liters of oil into micrograms of dopamine. A dance of desire in the superorganism stream. Through growth and decay we march in unison to survive the simplification yet to come.